channel. Today we will be discussing about user story grooming. Let's learn about them. What is a user story? A user story is a simple and specific description of an interaction with an in-development product. Now, that's quite a wordful there. Let's try and understand that further as we go through the remaining slides in today's session. Where is a user story used? It's a part of the agile software development methodology. So a user story is something that is used as part of sprints, used as part of backlog grooming, as part of sprint planning, to track how much velocity is being taken up in a sprint, uh, how much time is required to deliver these development products, and it's really something that helps us track how well we are doing as a team in the whole sprint cycle. I'll briefly also touch upon agile versus waterfall today. Of course, I'll probably have a detailed session on waterfall versus agile at some point in the future here, but today I'll just have a brief discussion here. Agile, as it means, is it's an iterative model of development where you make small incremental changes as you're going through the development life cycle, and the key there is you respond to changes, whether it's in requirements or testing or just in general nature of the business. And waterfall by itself is more rigid, where you go through development, you go through QA, and then you go through a release cycle, and it has its benefits, it has its uses, but of course today's focus and these sessions that I've been recording are more on the agile side, so we will stick to agile and its benefits versus what waterfall was used for or still can be used for today. Who creates a user story? So now the user story is something that can be created by a developer, a designer, a product manager, and anyone else who's frankly involved in building the product. Because they all could have a requirement that they want to see delivered as part of the sprint development cycles. Who uses a story, a user story? Now, in my opinion, it's the Scrum Master, and of course, you might argue that there's other users, but I'm going to be a little bit more narrow in my description of who uses a story. It's a Scrum Master because he or she is using this, like I said, to kind of uh, add it to his or her sprint backlog. It's part of the poker sessions where they will add a priority, they'll add some points to it, and then eventually deliver against a sprint by getting these stories to a done state. So, my opinion, it's the Scrum Master, but you can all argue against that, and feel free to add comments on who you feel uses a user story. Now, what's the structure of a user story? And that's the most important part, in my opinion, right? The basic form of a story takes the perspective of some particular user, right? Of what they expect from it. So basically, they describe what they want to do with the product, and very importantly, and I think I would lay a lot of emphasis is what value they think they will get from performing that function. So, a simple way to say this, what's the structure is, as some user, like say I'm a call center agent, I want to perform some task, as in maybe I want to close some accounts so that I can accomplish some goal, right? And the goal is to satisfy a customer who might be calling into the call center uh, to close their account for whatever reason, right? Maybe the subscription is no longer needed by them, etc., right? So the user, right, will want to be owning the user story. And of course, in this case, like I said, it's very important to emphasize on what we can accomplish, right? What do they want to get by performing that function? And the reason I'm saying that is because that's where we can uh, deliver based on priority. So if we know that this function is critical because X reason, where it could be leading to some customer service goal, or it could be leading to some revenue goal, those things add critical value and drive IT initiatives, and those on a micro level can drive what goes into a sprint. So very important to focus on what value they will be getting from that function. So with that, I'm going to be ending today's session. The next session I'm going to be spending a little bit longer on is on sprint planning and daily scrum. We already discussed poker sessions in my previous video. The upcoming one that I want to do is on sprint planning, where we formally review the full backlog that we've kind of groomed in the poker session, make some final decisions, get the sprint planning done, and then, of course, go on to that whole exercise where you do daily scrum, which is where you meet with your team on a daily basis for a few minutes, 15 minutes, whatever works well for each team, and then have those discussions on a daily basis so that you can actually get your sprint to a successful completion. If you remember, the one of the topics we discussed was planned versus actual velocity, and sprint planning and daily scrum is that activity which will get us to that point where we will actually do a comparison of what we accomplish and get that valuable points done, which takes us to maybe, on par with planned versus actual velocity. So with that, for today, I would like to thank everyone for joining, and I hope to see you soon with my next video. Thank you. Bye-bye.